It's March 21st, 2023. Let's make this Nowruz all about hope. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. Hello to you from Toronto. Salam dostan aziz. Durud bar shoma. Dear friends, Nowruzetun Piruz. Let's make this new day all about hope. And can there be any greater tradition than Persian New Year? You see, the beauty of Nowruz is its remarkable inclusivity. This day is not just about Iranians and our culture, country, ethnicity, or nationality, although we certainly love it with enormous pride. Be'eftikhar Nowruz. But actually, this new day is for everyone. It's about togetherness, unity, new beginnings, and new life. It's non-political, non-religious, non-denominational, and non-ahund. In the face of all the stereotypes and negative generalizations of Iranians over the years around the world and in the West, we've always had Nowruz as a beacon, as a demonstration of our true spirit, and as a cultural occasion that sends a message of love to our fellow global citizens. It's not a secret I've always called this my favorite holiday of any stripe. And this year, let's make Nowruz all about hope rather than hype. Because it's also no secret that we've had mixed feelings this year. Do we celebrate at a time when our sisters and brothers are desperately fighting for freedom in Iran? Do we allow ourselves to dance, eat, drink, and laugh when our friends, families, and citizens of the country of our ancestry are suffering under a brutal theocracy in full suppression mode? After all those we've lost in recent months and in the last 44 years, can we bring ourselves to moments of joy? Well, maybe the answer is yes, that we are capable of more than just sadness. That is respecting and paying tribute to our proud Nowruz tradition, a very holiday that the mullahs would love to eradicate, while also remembering those in Iran and pledging to continue our mission to support them, be their voice, amplify, and do whatever we can to further the cause of freedom. And that's why this new year should be about hope. Our pledge that this new day will be about a great new beginning for young women and men in Iran coming soon, about the people of Iran feeling the sunshine, the azadi, and indeed, shooting for the moon. Our pledge that this new day will be about an endeavor to catapult the tremendous potential of Iran back to being more than it seems. That on this Nowruz we will allow ourselves to imagine and work towards the Iran of our dreams. Here's to you, your families, your friends, your happiness, and then some. Nowruz Piruz. Here's to our dear ones in Iran and great days to come. On this special edition of Rook, we have some key Rook team members joining me in the Rook Studio for a roundtable about the new year, what we've just been through, the brightest and darkest moments, our personal reflections, and wishes and aspirations for the year ahead. The Haft scene is here. This is Rook, episode 248, the Nowruz 2023 special. Bring on the new year. Welcome here to the Rook Studio on this important day for the Iranian community around the world. Hi there. Welcome to episode 248 of Rook. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. Hello to you from Toronto. Once again, salam dostan aziz, durud bar shoma. Nowruzetun Piruz. Right? This is sad sal bein sala. Okay. This is the first time since we've launched Rook. Almost 3 years ago, that Nowruz has actually fallen on a show day. So we've had to think about, well, what do we do when Nowruz happens on a show day? And for the last 2 years, as our regular audience people will know, we've done these home videos. We started a couple of years ago, our Nowruz 2021 video where we're sort of dancing around and talking about the importance of Nowruz. We did it again last year in my kitchen, and this year it's a different kind of year where we didn't feel comfortable just doing a joyous, celebratory, zany home video. Rather, we thought we would mark this important occasion and celebrate Nowruz, if you will, in the spirit of hope, as I was just talking about in that opening essay, but also to have a conversation about it and to have a roundtable. Now, this is a very special roundtable because gathered around are some of our core team members here at Rook for a very special roundtable. We also have a half scene here that was put together by Pegah and Anahita. Mm-hmm. Very impressive, very nice.
Thank you.
I see Somar and Serke and Sabzi and Sib and a book of Hafez.
Yeah.
And
Khayyam, right?
Yeah, it's Khayyam.
And Khayyam. Oh, we have Khayyam. And what are the tulips?
Just flowers.
Okay, they're not part of the S series of the half scene.
Sombol is technically part of the S of the half scene, which is over there, but flowers are a nice addition. Flowers are always a nice addition.
Sure. Let me, with intent, introduce the people gathered around here. By the way, this is the first time in a while that we've had this many people in the studio. Five people. I think we had
after Rastok.
We had Rastok here. There was actually even more people. I think it was just 6 or 7, and much more talented people in the studio than
sure.
So here, let me introduce some of our Rook team members here gathered around me at the studio. Our producer and on-air contributor, Pegah, Smart Pegah. Hello, Pegah.
Hello.
And our producer and researcher, Parissa, better known as Super P. Hello.
Hello.
Our graphics and web guru, Anahita, well known as the talented Anahita. Hello.
Hi, Jian.
I know the last couple of nights you've been doing your dances, very thoughtful dances to at different events for Nowruz.
Yes, thank you.
And our editor on all things video and senior man, senior as part of the team, not necessarily a senior in terms of your
I hope that you correct
age. Roham, Savvy Roham, Meher.
Meher. Why?
How do I say your last name?
It's either if you want to say it in Parsi, Maher.
I was trying to be English.
If you want to be like Bilmar.
Bill Maher. I get it. Oh, Roham. I never knew that. I thought the English version was like Meher or something. Oh, Roham Mar.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of
Roham,
that.
Savvy Roham Mar.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome to all of you. Nice to have you here as a collective. As I said in the opening essay just now, it's a very different kind of Nowruz, and we haven't exactly known how to treat it. We've been talking about this for about a month. What do we do on Nowruz? Do we shoot a fun, zany video? There really wasn't a lot of appetite or hosele amongst the Rook team to do that, for better or for worse. But at the same time, we thought we can't just ignore Nowruz. And in fact, I suspect we all have somewhat nuanced or different positions on how we should be marking this holiday. So I would say for myself, it's a complicated year in which I have mixed feelings. I really fundamentally love and believe in the holiday Nowruz and the Persian tradition of Nowruz and everything it represents in terms of inclusivity and being non-religious and non-denominational and non-political, frankly, and including everybody in this gathering of light and love and new beginnings. And as I was saying in that essay, all of these things and the idea of hope being a very big one here at Nowruz. At the same time, I've been going to these events and kind of thinking, I want to be enthusiastic. I want to be having fun. And there's part of me going, do I feel weird about being dressed up at an event where everybody's eating a very nice dinner when we know that there's tough days going on for our sisters and brothers back in Iran, and there's this ongoing movement for freedom and change in Iran, and just even some of the statistics that we've been talking about on recent shows about half of Iranians being under the poverty line in Iran, or 1 out of every 9 women in Iran over the age of 15 being employed. Just horrendous kind of stats. So it's been a mixed bag. So what we're going to do for this roundtable is we're going to talk about what this occasion means to you guys as our core team members. I'm going to ask you a little bit about your favorite, the moments of the year that moved you, both in a positive way and in a difficult way. So it'll sort of be some reflection on the year that has passed us. and some thoughts around the future and what you see today as what your wishes and aspirations are. I don't know about you guys, but in my family, we always did a little bit of that around at the Saat Tafil, at this moment of the spring equinox. After we say Happy Nowruz to each other, we basically talk about what we have, what hopes we have for is usually held, started by the elders. My parents would start talking, and then they would say, so what are you thinking for this new year ahead? And, my family is very much like that. Everything's a conversation, which has led me to be as verbose as I am. But that's pretty much true for you guys too. So you're kind of practiced at this. All right. So let me start with a very basic question for Pegah, Parissa, Anahita, Roham. And that is, what does Nowruz mean to you this year? And I guess, how is it different from any other years, or is it? So let me start with you, Parissa.
It's really different for me. As you know, I moved here 2 years ago, and Nowruz for me...
From Mashhad?
Yes, from Mashhad. And like when I was in Mashhad, we usually celebrated Nowruz with my family, and I used to go to my grandparents' house and visit them, and like we had Nowruz parties, but in the last 2 years, I moved here to Toronto, and I don't have my family here, so even last year was really different. But this year specifically, because of the revolution in Iran, it's really a lot of things has changed, and I don't think I celebrate Nowruz this year.
You're not going to sell. You're not going to market at all, other than being here right now.
Yes.
So it's we're about, actually, just so listener, so you know where we're at. We're about 3 hours away from Saat Tafil, which is we're all going to run off and celebrate. Some of us celebrate with our family members if they're around. So what do you think you're going to do at that moment?
I don't think I probably spend it alone, or like I just...
You're not even going to Zoom with your parents or something?
I will Zoom with my parents. I love Nowruz, and I think we should celebrate Nowruz, but this year it doesn't feel right to celebrate Nowruz.
At all?
I don't think so. Yeah.
All right. Pegah, let me come to you. What does Nowruz mean for you this year? And do you agree with what Parissa just said?
I don't, respectfully. So Nowruz for me has always been probably the most important celebration of the year. I've been very lucky to be surrounded with family here. I've been in Toronto since I was 5, and I've had my family here, and kind of had my extended family even join us over the years. So I've been really lucky to be surrounded by family, and it's always been this celebration of love and life and light and family more than anything else. And I agree. I think it's a very difficult year, and I don't think that we can lose sight of what's happened. But I also think that, as the slogan goes, woman, life, freedom, life. I think it's important that we continue to celebrate it, and we continue to mark these occasions, especially Nowruz, because it's got such a big part of our culture, and I think preserving that is very, very important.
Roham?
I have to agree with Pegah, because first of all, Nowruz for me always means hope in a new day, and as the nature goes back to life, I think even our country would go back to life, and we can hope for that. And we're gonna have a smaller celebration for sure. We're not gonna dance around and go to parties, but we have our half scene, and we're gonna celebrate Nowruz with a small.
Is there anything wrong with going to parties?
I don't feel it.
Mm-hmm. But you don't feel comfortable doing that?
No, I don't feel like partying and dancing. But if somebody wanna do that, it's fine.
Anahita?
So, of course, Nowruz is different this year for me. And this is the 6th Nowruz that I'm not with my family in Iran, and I'm celebrating with my sister here. But I'm agree with Pegah and Roham and some points, but we should celebrate Nowruz because Nowruz is not religious. It's not about it. It's about it's like 2,500 years that we have Nowruz. It's not for, and I think Jomri Islami. I don't think I'm sure, because I lived in Iran for 28 years, and they try to take Nowruz from our culture, take out the Nowruz, Nowruz, Yalda, and Charshanbe Suri and everything. And I think this year especially, if we say we are not celebrating Nowruz, this is what they want.
So Nowruz is almost like celebrating Nowruz as an act of defiance.
Exactly. And part of my job is dancing and entertainment. So I cannot say we shouldn't do the parties, but I think some people needs that. They need to get more, earn more energy to continue the revolution. If we just go and just be like sad every single moment and just follow the news, this is my opinion. So we need to celebrate the Nowruz and have a good moment together.
Parissa, I want to give you a chance to, because
Against me.
no, they're not against you. They're giving their opinion. Yeah.
Yes. No, well, I can defend myself. I think, in the last 6 months, we had protests in the street and a lot of people lost their lives. Like we lost more than 500 people and 20,000 people are in prison. Like they arrested them and a lot of them are still there. So if I want to identify with the people inside the country, I think I don't think that the Islamic Republic wants me to celebrate Nowruz or don't want me to celebrate Nowruz. It's about the people inside of Iran. And I don't think too much Salahi, for example, celebrate Nowruz this year. And it's the same for a lot of people. It's the same for Kian's family. It's Sarina and Nika. They don't have Nowruz this year. And they're in this situation because they were fighting for something that it's my fight too, but I made the decision to leave that country, but they made a decision to stay and fight. So if I want to be in the same page with them, and I should, put myself in their shoes.
It's a compelling point.
It is,
Parissa makes.
for sure.
So can I add something?
Yeah.
I just
On microphone. Yeah, go ahead.
So when it was war between Iran and Iraq, lots of people killed that moment too, but the people still celebrate. They were celebrating the Nowruz. They had wedding. This is life, and I saw the video yesterday, and Mahsa's Amini family, they went like in Sar Mazar Mahsa with lots of people, and I cannot say they celebrate Nowruz, but because of this is part of the Nowruz. So when someone die, you go to the Mazar and so puts the Hafsin, and it's kind of celebration. It's like the first Nowruz that Mahsa, Sarina, Kian, and all the kids and teenagers and young people who died, they are not with us, and there is nothing wrong with that to have Nowruz.
I think Roham mentioned, Nowruz is also a celebration of hope and life, right? And I think maintaining the thought of these individuals, remembering them, remembering that same fight, remembering the ongoing struggle that we continue to have, and having the hope to continue on that path is also part of what we're celebrating.
But that's a major point that you're making, and that's something that's where I intersect with what Parissa is saying, because I think Parissa, realistically, when we thought early on, there was a moment, in the first couple of months, 2 or 3 months, that we thought, hey man, this could be over. This could be the regime could fall, and everything was so accelerated, so much was happening that it felt correct for everybody to sort of respect that above all. It's a don't, you know, even though I disagreed on some levels with the don't play concerts and things like that, it was like, well, this is a temporary thing that everybody around the world is going to do to respect what's going on in Iran. Now that we've learned that that's not going to be the case, and in other words, that there is a revolution going on, and that we all believe in the inevitability of change, but that it's not going to happen tomorrow. That it's going, there's steps, and we're on the path, and then there is some that I'm much more sympathetic to the idea that we can't suspend life. And we can't not do the things that involve, and certainly we can't, teach our children, you're not allowed to laugh at all because what kind of society would we be building? That said, I the part where I'm sympathetic to what Parissa is saying is, I would hate for joyous Nowruz galas to be interpreted as we've passed the moment where we should be showing solidarity for the freedom movement. That's over for now. Let's do that again some other time. Because as we talk about so regularly on this show, it's so important for the diaspora to continue to keep going. And that's the one thing where I've been going to a couple of Nowruz events, and I try and talk to as many people as possible and go, how are you feeling about this? What are you doing? And the one thing that I kind of go, sometimes is the idea that I understand compartmentalizing. In other words, that you can't spend every moment of your day thinking about, sorry, no, it's going to be, you're going to disable yourself from being able to function. But on the other hand, if this is like, it's party time, okay, that, the fall was about worrying about Iran, now we move forward. We're not there yet. There's so much more to do, and there's so much heartache, and there are people still in prison. So that's the mixed blessing part, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Thank you, Parissa. Let me ask you guys about the past year, and
what a year.
Maybe this will be part of a segue from that first question about how you feel about Nowruz. And actually, let me ask you this. Let me ask you what the most surprising part of the past year has been for you. If you go back to this time last year, Nowruz 2022, emerging out of COVID back into we thought, quote unquote, regular life, at least in the diaspora, what has been the most surprising part of the past year? Let's start with you, Roham.
Okay. I think that the uprising for me, because as you said, we were out of COVID, and I was personally was like, okay, we're going to go back to life. We're going to go to the business again. And the uprising happened. And I think I was one of the people that was so optimistic about the uprising. I was like, in the first days, I would say, it's going to get big. It's going to go to the revolution level. But I honestly didn't think it going that big at that time. So it was so surprising that so fast from uprising it went to a revolution.
Okay, Pegah?
I think the longevity of the uprising. I think we've seen within the last couple of years numerous uprisings in Iran, and we've seen the discontent showing itself through the form of protests and different things. But I think we had, and I say we, like us in the diaspora maybe, had become used to these kind of ebbs and flows in that discontent being shown in Iran. But the longevity of this uprising turned revolution, I think, is what has been most surprising. And there were so many points at the onset of the revolution where, a lot of people had this conversation where they said, we don't know if it'll last, or let's see what happens. And there was kind of always this thought in the back of everyone's mind that at some point it would get quashed, or it would slow down, or people would lose momentum, or, more than anything else, there would just be so much barbarism against individuals from the Islamic Republic. And we saw that despite all of that, the fight continues.
Yeah. Parissa, the most surprising element of the past year for you?
Yeah, for me, growing up in Iran, and I have to say that when I was in Iran, I wouldn't wear hijab. was trying, like a lot of girls in Iran, to not wearing it, and but
You would not wear a hijab.
no, I would not wear a hijab. But
in Mashhad,
yes,
pre-uprising.
yes,
Good for you.
pre-uprising.
Yeah.
It's like this is. I think some people think that it's new that girls don't wear hijab, but it's like in the last 10 years or maybe more, there were always girls in the street who refused.
that.
Yeah. So, but I couldn't imagine that one day in Iran, girls burned their hijab. Like that was something that really surprised me. It's so crazy and big and brave,
Anahita?
So, for me, of course, the uprising, but I was there when the uprising started. As you know, I was.
You had gone home to take care of your dad for a couple of weeks.
Yes, and my father was in the hospital, and so I had to go to the hospital every day. And then I saw the people in the streets, like exactly the location that was the hospital. So it was people started in like kind of in midtown in Tehran, and I saw the people after 7 p.m. The young people started to like chanting, and police came, and so attacking people. I was sure it's getting big. I was sure because of the people so smart right now, and now when I see the people around the world, they talk about the things that happen in Iran, or I'm talking with someone, I'm not getting surprised. I'm getting happy. Yeah.
It's interesting that you all talk about it as a pleasant surprise somehow, the uprising, even though the precipitant for it was something very horrible, the killing of Mahsa Amini. I agree with all of what you guys have said. I was a little more hyper focused, I suppose, on what was the surprise for me of the year, and I would say it would be the song Baraye. If you said to me last year this time, which is just a manifestation of what everybody said, it's a manifestation of the uprising. But if you had said to me this time last year, by this time next year, there's going to be a song that everyone who is of Iranian background, literally everyone of Iranian background, everywhere in the world and inside Iran will know the lyrics to and be able to sing, and it's a new song, I would say that's impossible. I would say that's impossible because it has been impossible for the last 44 years. There's no the closest you would come to it would be a song like Farah Maurz's song from 1978 that people still sing at campfires and stuff. So that was that's a. As I say, it's a manifestation of the uprising, but it's a shocker. I want to ask about Did you want to say something about that?
No, I was going to say not from a very famous artist.
Correct. Somebody who most people didn't know.
I didn't know.
Right. He didn't know you either.
Yeah, that's shocking.
I'm going to ask you the most heartbreaking moment of the year, but let's start on a positive. The most energizing moment of the past year for you. These, by the way, I've mentioned that the kinds of questions I'm going to be asking you, this doesn't have to be about being Iranian and the uprising and whatever. I mean, it can be anything you want it to be. But I'll go first with this one. And the most energizing moment of the past year for me was probably, I think it was in October, and there was a demonstration. And it was the first of the big demonstrations that happened downtown. It wasn't the 80,000 people in Richmond Hill one. It was the one where we were walking downtown, and my life flashed before my eyes because we were walking down Yonge Street, which is... First, we went on Bloor and Yonge Street, and these are major arteries in Toronto. For people who don't know Toronto, this is an iconic main street of Toronto, and that's like Main Street downtown. And walking on that street with flags, hands in the air, being for sure talking about the uprising and chanting slogans and talking about Azadi and freedom and all of that, but essentially expressing our pride in being Iranian was something that, had you told 10-year-old me I would ever see that in Toronto, I would have never believed you. It was such a moment of such unbridled energy to go, oh my God, I've been waiting for this my whole life, to be able to joyously celebrate being Iranian without the chains of the association of this horrible regime that we've always opposed and that we've always had to issue as a disclaimer, like, yes, I'm Iranian, but I'm not an Ayatollah or terrorist or whatever. And here we are, a group of Iranians walking through the streets and expressing all the things that we know we love about our culture, our people, the successful people who are of Iranian background. So that was probably the most energizing moment of the past year for me. Let me start with you, Anahita.
Well, there is a moment that for me, I think exact day that in October, so we were in the protest together, I think. Before that, I had an appointment with my hairstylist, but she's not Iranian. But it's close to my place.
It's important to get your hair done for the protests.
Yeah, no, my hair was like, you know what? Because I cut my hair in one of the protests, and it was kind of ugly.
Uneven.
Yes, and I wanted to fix it, and I went to the my appointment, and I said to her, you know what? I want to go to the protest, but could you please change my appointment? And she said, yeah, just go. I'm coming too. And she knew about that. I was like, you come to our protest? She said, yes, I'm supporting you guys. And I saw her there. And I was like, oh my God, this moment, is like, melt my heart.
That's a great moment.
Yeah.
Roham?
For me, was seeing the unity in the main day, I think, was the day that all the opposition leaders in the diaspora tweeted together. Honestly, that was one thing that I always said might not happen ever, because we Iranians are famous for not agreeing that much, and this was showing the world that for once we can be united and we can say the same thing and let go of our disagreements.
Parissa?
People in the Western countries, right now, they know the difference between us and the Islamic Republic, because before they used to see us as these religious people in Iran, and they really didn't know the reality, and they didn't know what is happening in Iran, and how the gap between the regime and people, how this gap is, wide and big. And right now, they kind of knew that we're not the same as our government.
Yeah.
And it's so
a broader, energizing moment, but but I totally hear you.
Can I add something? Because that was really exciting for me, because before, like, I think 10 years ago, I was in Europe, and somebody asked me, where are you from? I said, Iran. And he did this and showed a gun and said, Ahmadinejad, showed a gunfire. And I think some months...
Ahmadinejad.
Yeah.
What a funny thing to say.
He remembered Ahmadinejad because he was famous around the world. And some weeks ago or months ago, I've been somewhere else, and they asked me, where are you from? I said, Iran. And they said, Zan Zindagi Azadi. So they remembered this instead of Ahmadinejad.
Pegah? Energizing moment?
There's been so many, honestly. I think the big protest, that large one in Richmond Hill, the very first one, prior to that one, I had been to a couple of other protests downtown, and, we had obviously been really immersed in what was going on doing the Uprising series, and there were a lot of conversations and a lot of moments that I was taken aback. But being in that demonstration, there's no words to describe how I felt. I mean, I was overwhelmed. I felt pride. I cried. I laughed. I was euphoric in a sense to see the unity, the solidarity, to have that hope of, what would be to come. So I think that was the moment. But I do want to add something else. Another moment recently that I was really, really happy
You
about.
don't get 2 moments. I'm sorry.
Well, this isn't a moment that I was.
I have lots of moments.
Yeah, lots of moments. But I really want to mention this because this is more than a moment. It goes back to what you were saying about, growing up in the diaspora and feeling kind of out of place. The Disney Nowruz video that came out, I cried seeing it because, growing up, again, maybe it's because of my family traditions or, the way we always celebrated Nowruz, but it was always such a big part of my life. And going to school growing up, nobody knew that, especially when I was in elementary school and there were so few Iranians in my school. I felt really out of place. And to see that video and to think that, my little cousins right now are not going to have that feeling, that was incredible.
That's been an ongoing build over the year. I remember the first time Anahita's already in tears just thinking about it. Yeah. I remember the first time that Obama did a shout out to Nowruz.
Yeah.
I would like to say happy Nowruz to the, and we were like, oh, he said Nowruz, he's the president of the United. So it was very exciting. And so with that trajectory has been continuing.
Mickey Mouse
based
trumps
on
Obama, though.
Yes, Mickey Mouse is well, depending on where Mickey Mouse came from, it's got some dodgy backgrounds. But unfortunately, this year has. It goes without saying, really, for anybody of Iranian background that's listening to this, that it has involved a lot of devastation and profound sadness and anger and frustration, but tears. If there's been a constant on our program, it's been people talking about how much they've cried over the last 6 months. If I may, what has been the most, or what was, let's say, the most heartbreaking moment of the past year for you? What affected you the most? I know we all have hundreds of these moments, but as a way of sort of respecting what has happened and some of the most difficult moments, let me ask this question. So, who would like to start?
I can.
Okay.
Well, I think the seeing the kids die, or the executions, both are saddest moments of my life. I think so, because.
Do you have a particular one that you remember the moment of?
No, any of the kids, I just can't see them. Every time that Kian was killed months ago, but I think days after that or weeks after that, I still was thinking of him. I couldn't watch the pictures and the executions too, because yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned Kian, because my most heartbreaking moment of this year, and as we say, there's been many, was actually related to Kian. It was I
think it was the same as mine.
Which is what?
His father going,
his father being in the hospital bed.
And then going to his gravesite.
Yes.
That
First
video.
not knowing that Kian has been killed, and then going to his, it's, just thinking about it is eerie. And the innocence of how Kian first of all dies, and then his father's visceral, watching his father's. Most of my most heartbreaking moments that I was thinking about usually involve one of the parents, like a mother or a father dealing with it's just gut wrenching watching that and identifying with it. But that was yours.
That was mine. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That video, just the pain that you see in that video. I mean, don't get me wrong, hearing about Kian shattered me. I mean, to
10-year-old boy in the back of a car
in the crossfire, like the innocence, like you said, the loss of life, the brutality, the chaos,
loss of potential.
Yeah,
the loss of
all
potential.
Of that.
Yeah.
But I think seeing that video and seeing how far this pain stretches, and to think that it wasn't just that this poor boy was killed. It's the fact that this poor boy was killed. His father was hospitalized. He had no idea for months or weeks, I guess. I don't even know how long it was. And then to have to come to terms with that and to go to the gravesite of your 10-year-old child, like that video, I think was just heartbreaking.
Yeah. Parissa?
So for me, it's like, as everyone said, the first couple of weeks that we kept hearing, like, Sarina, Nika, Kian, Siavash, Mershad. It was really difficult. But on a personal level, my grandfather passed away.
Oh.
And it was really heartbreaking for me because I thought, when I left Iran, I thought I would come back and meet them again. But he passed away, and
Was he a big influence in your life?
Yes, we were really close, and it was really heartbreaking, and it was in the middle of the uprising, and sometimes, like, at that time, I was thinking that all these kids, lost their lives. My grandfather was 80, and I felt like I cannot say anything. I cannot talk about it because people are losing their children. But it was difficult.
Yeah. Anahita, you're already in tears. What are you thinking about?
I had couple. I cannot say bad moments, but at the same time that the young and kids were killing in Iran, I had different things in my personal life too. The night that Kian's mom was looking for ice for her kids, I couldn't sleep until morning.
We should explain that.
Yes.
Kian had died, and why was she looking for ice? It's a horrible story.
And
No. You want to explain why? Because how I think that this regime don't give the murder of their kids to them just for برای اینکه خاکش کنن. How? And the parents should looking for ice to keep the murder in their home. And that's right.
So I couldn't sleep that night, and I think I was thinking about if, for example, if it's my mom looking for ice for, or someone else, or this moment, it was I don't even know how it's possible. How, if I was a mom, how I could do that, Yeah.
Interesting that it's about the kids for all of us. Although you make such a good point, Parissa, about the, we almost feel, this is one of the most traumatizing parts of what's happening in Iran, is that when things are so horrific, like horror movie horrific, schoolgirls being poisoned and kids being shot, you almost feel guilty for feeling bad about anything, right? You say, how can I feel bad about the fact that I'm trying to make ends meet, or that my knee hurts, or whatever it is, because, and obviously that's not a realistic, or it's a very difficult way to live. You can't carry the burden of people dying in Iran. It's not your fault, but it's something that we've so commonly felt and so commonly heard from our guests all year who've been on this program, especially in the last 6 months. Something that my parents would always ask me on Nowruz is, it's the kind of family we are, or we have been. What did you most learn? What did you learn this year? What's something you learned this year that you're going to take forward? So it's never an easy question, but you can answer it in as small or a big a way as you want. Could be something very, very little that you learned, or something that's epic that's changed your life. So Pegah, what did you most learn in this year as we head into a new one, at least in the Persian calendar?
I was hoping you'd extend that question so that I'd have more time to think, but this answer might sound really cliche, but it's the truth. I think maybe it's something I had learned in previous years, but this year, more than any other time in my life, it's become more vital, perhaps. And that's just to cherish every moment, really. I mean, you know, seeing what's happened, or what is happening rather, in Iran, how quickly things can change, how quickly life can change more than anything else. And also on a personal note, you know, even the last couple of months, it's been, you know, a little bit difficult with, I mean, I think the whole team here knows, but my grandfather had been ill for some time, and dealing with that, and, you know, making sure to spend that time with the people that you love and just cherishing every moment, really.
All right. Anahita, you're nodding. Would that be something similar to you then, what you learned this year?
Actually, I learned to do my responsibility about the people around myself.
What does it mean?
It means if I do something wrong in my life, it's affected on every people around myself. It doesn't matter how they close to me. The philosophy behind this is wrong if they say, oh, if someone do something, it's not your responsibility. If you do your things, but it's not true, because we see now how people are united together, how the things that happened 44 years ago, how affected to our life, why I'm here. I could live in Iran, right? But and I'm trying to do my responsibility about next generation, about my friends, my family, my nieces, my nephews, who are in Iranian culture.
But you've seemed to me you've always been somebody who feels a responsibility. What changed this year, or what was it? Was there some moment in particular, or something in particular that made you feel this way?
Yeah, you know what? Because when I left Iran, I was so tired.
The first time?
The first time.
6 years ago?
Yeah, 6 years ago. And I was like, okay, I go somewhere to live for myself. I'm not working with Iranian. Because I was tired. I want to just be, you know, far from everything, far from the dramas and everything that happened in Iran. But I couldn't. The first 6 months in the school, I started to teach Persian dance to the people. But I tried to keep the distance between people. But now it's different for me. I'm middle of the center of the Iranian diaspora.
What did you most learn, Roham?
Same thing that everyone said, cherish life, every moment, everything. But on uprising notes, I learned that I knew that we are in a war with Islamic Republic, and I knew that there are countries that help Islamic Republic, but I learned that we are kind of
fucking alone.
Yes,
we're all alone.
We are in a war with the whole world.
Yeah,
and we have to change it. We have to make allies. We have to get other countries and other leaders to know, to understand that this is eventually change, and if they want to have a future relation with Iran, with a free Iran, they have to stop helping these mullahs.
By the way, the cherish every moment thing is it is a cliche. It's something that we say to each other, you know, on January 1st, you know, New Year's in the West and on Nowruz. But I really do feel like this year, for the Iranian community, that it became very, very clear. I mean, I think that as it would during a war, which is, you know, what some people call this, you realize that, you know, everything can change on a dime, and including lives can be lost. Parissa, what you most learned this year?
Well, I think I learned about myself. Like, I didn't know how strong I am before, and you know, I moved here when I was 24, and the last 2 years was really difficult. And when I look back, I'm proud of myself, and I think that I moved on, and
That's
know
great
what
to hear.
say.
That's great to
I
hear.
was gonna say, yeah.
I don't
As
know.
your friend, I'm proud of you too. That's,
Yeah.
that's
We're
incredible,
all proud of you.
Parissa.
That's yeah. And you came here alone, and with you don't have family here, and you didn't come here with a big community and friends and all of that, and you have been. You have shown a lot of strength. It's not easy to do what you've done, and I think I agree. We're all proud of you.
Merci.
And mine was it's kind of related to the cherish every moment, but to turn it around and say that the one thing you can count on is change. That nothing is ever set in stone, and things that you never thought. Like don't ever give up on if there's something that if you're in a hole, don't ever give up on the fact that you can get out of the hole or something can change, because who would have known that fancy and I think unethical writers at the New York Times would be castigated out of favor by the entire Iranian community. Who would have ever thought that? Reza Pahlavi, wherever you are on whether you're a fan or not a fan or whatever. I'm not sure that anyone would have predicted 7 months ago that he would be at the forefront of a new movement with like polls showing massive popularity and these things, and that's somebody who's been there for 44 years on the sidelines, and these things can really surprise you, and there's been so much that has kind of turned on its head over the last 6 months. Some of it in a really bad way, and some of it in a that the one constant in life is impermanence. Everything ends, and everything changes, and that's certainly, I think, a lesson for this year. Let's move to some positive questions to end off here. This is cool doing a round table with you guys.
Can I check the cameras?
Why bring guests on here? Yes, check the cameras, Roham. We can just be Roham's going to check the cameras to make sure that they're still rolling.
Nobody can see me.
What do you mean nobody can see you? That camera.
Oh, there's a camera.
Okay. There's a camera there.
We're still rolling, by the way. Don't say anything you don't want to hear on the recording. We're good, Roham? All right. Let me ask you about Rook. We've been doing. I guess we've probably done. What have we done? Maybe 100 episodes this year, or something like that, or maybe 80 to 90 episodes over the last year.
Should be more than that.
Yeah,
It's
I
more
think
than
more. Yeah.
100.
A couple a week.
110, 120.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. But there was a couple where we did one a week, so I was rounding it off. But sure, I'll take more than 100. That's a lot. What was your favorite Rook moment or interview this year? So in all of our Rook programming, Pegah, you can say it's yourself in your. So you
No.
Pegah was going to say, I really like when Pegah is. Yeah.
No, I was holding my breath because it's so funny. I think everyone here knows what my favorite episode was.
Oh.
I think
Do they?
you don't really. I
Okay.
mean, definitely the girls do.
Okay,
because
what's
I've
your
talked
favorite?
about
I
this.
actually don't. I don't.
You don't?
I don't think so.
I've talked about
Okay,
it
so
so
you
much,
start
so-
off then. Your
okay.
favorite Rook moment or interview this year. If somebody is new to Rook listening right now, what interview moment or episode must they listen to?
So, part 28 of the Contemporary History of Iran.
Okay.
It's the interview that you did with Jane Lewison about the Golha project. I think I've listened to this part of Choi, Contemporary History of Iran, like, I don't even know, 10 times maybe? Truly. It's one of my favorite episodes because it's so much more than just the Golha project. It speaks to the preservation of Iranian culture, and to me...
Golha project being... Explain in case anybody's
So the
missed it.
Golha project is... it's a project dedicated to preserving a series by the same name that used to play on the radio in Iran.
Started in the 1950s, went to the revolution,
Yes.
to the late 70s,
Exactly.
and was about Iranian artists and music, and kind of popularized
Yeah.
Persian music inside Iran.
Exactly. But I think the interview talks about the project, but also in between some of the questions that you ask Jane Lewison, there's so much love for Iranian culture, and there's so much conversation about the importance of preserving it. And that speaks so deeply to me because, I mean, that's been one of my goals for however long I can remember. So that's definitely my favorite.
Jane Lewis, by the way, a non-Iranian
Yes, exactly.
in Britain who has made her life's work, her passion for Persian music and culture.
Yeah. And in case there is someone who's listening who's new to Rook, listen to the entire Contemporary History of Iran series because
Right.
I love it. All of it.
Yeah, I that's nice to hear. I
Yeah.
agree. Parissa, favorite Rook moment or interview this year, Super P?
So my favorite Rook interview is the interview with Dr. Dick Davis.
Oh,
About
everybody likes the non-Persians.
yeah.
Dick Davis, who translated Dojen Napoleon.
Hafiz, and I think I love this story that he traveled to Iran and then he fell in love and lived in Iran and had to leave Iran after the revolution, but he went to university and got his master's degrees in Persian literature and translate all these great works.
Yeah.
And for Iranians, because you said everyone likes non-Iranians, I love interview with Dr. Fath Ali Moqaddam. It's so informative and educational.
Good ones. Anahita.
So for me, it was too hard to make decision because in like 1 year and a half, I created the YouTube version of the episodes and moments. Actually, moments, the thumbnail only, but Roham is doing the video. But the first episode of Contemporary History of Iran that I made, like the graphic things, is the creation of Qanun.
Was that within this year? You may have stepped up. That might be 2022.
22?
Yeah. But
So
anyway,
this
go
is
ahead.
my-
That's okay.
This
Yeah.
is my favorite one, honestly, because first of all, it was the first one that I made. And then I remembered all my childhood memories that I spent time every summer and also like the whole years when from 5 years old to 17 years old in the Qanun. And I learned lots of things there. And a couple months ago when I heard about like the stupid government is going to close the Qanuns, I was so shocked. Because that place is the good place for all the kids to learn about Iranian culture
And
in
art
Iran.
and creativity. And,
everything.
it's
Music,
amazing.
theater, books, painting, everything.
Well, it sounds like we should go back to the contemporary history of Iran because everybody's choosing their favorite moments from it.
Yeah.
Roham?
It's deeply missed.
Mine is not contemporary history, and if I can, it's not an episode. It's the documentary we made in Istanbul. I love that documentary, and every moment of it is really good. But of the episodes,
Well, you can pick a moment from the documentary. It doesn't have to be.
well, I would recommend
Okay.
everyone that still didn't check the documentary to go and see the documentary on YouTube. But of the episodes, I loved the episodes that we did with people in Iran, the voices from Iran. That was so informative, and everything they said, I could feel it with my bones, because every word I could see myself where they are talking about and what they say. So
I
Voices
so
from
agree with
Iran.
you about that. The Voices from Inside Iran has been such an eye-opener in terms of actually hearing from people who are actually on the streets in Iran, especially the kind of people that we're bringing on. We're not pundits or writers or journalists or something, but young people who have been protesting and who are telling us what they're observing and what life is like there. And so my answer would be, first of all, I love the what we might quote unquote call the more intellectual interviews. So I totally agree with you about some of the selections you guys have made today. But I would add Dr. Shaul Bakhash, who we just had the Reza Shah. I just love doing those type of interviews with the book. But I would say the best story, my favorite Rook moment or interview in terms of an unbelievable story would be Ali Reza Qadiri, the Razor Ali, who was the boxer. He's the Iranian boxer who's in London in the UK now and doing quite well as a British boxer, who literally came as a refugee with nothing to England, literally lived on the streets, and it has literally fought his way, as a little fighter guy into the hearts and minds and his in some material success into becoming something in Britain. And it's such a riveting story, and he's so honest and open about who he is, and so grateful that he's gone from gang life in Iran and a really difficult situation to making something of himself in Britain. And I think he just won a big fight like 2 or 3 weeks ago. We were trying to get him back on.
I think he's still undefeated. He didn't lose a match.
Well,
the big ones, I mean.
Anyway, it's Razor Ali Reza Qadiri, and I agree with you about the Istanbul. I was near the top of my list was Shabnam Shahrohi, who people might be surprised I would pick her, but just the strength that some of these people that she shows as this powerful woman. I mean, literally, as physically she's powerful. She's a martial arts champion, but she's also the strength of character she shows to be in Istanbul and still be outspoken, knowing all the risks, being in that proximity to Iran and with that government in Turkey to speak out the way she does. It was. I remember we did that interview. It was late at night, and we left just going, "Oh my God, what a strong person!"
She cries every morning,
and she cries every morning. Yeah. All right. So a couple final questions. Let me ask this. I suppose. How optimistic are you for this coming new year? And let me tie that to, what do you most wish for in the coming year? Personal, can be personal. You don't have to be Tarofi and say, I want a free secular Iran. You can say that if you want, but what do you most wish for in the coming year? And how optimistic are you? Roham?
I'm always optimistic about everything, but I see that things are getting better in the world and in Iran, because I saw that Putin got convicted for mass murder, something like that.
Charged by the International Criminal Court,
and it's good, and it's a good start. And I see that mullahs are going down every day. They are trying their best to make deals and everything, but in general respect, they're going down and they're losing their less and less power they have, and I wish for that moment of this revolution, because I feel that every revolution has that moment that the revolution goes to succeed.
Okay.
So I'm wishing for that moment.
All right. Yeah. Pegah?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I like to be on the side of optimism for sure, but I think speaking in terms of the revolution, I've been a little bit disheartened with the international community, politicians mostly, and governments, international governments. So I'm cautiously optimistic about where the revolution is headed. But if I want to talk a little bit more emotionally, I hope that, in the coming year, I can go back to Iran. Really. That would be my biggest hope. I've been saying it for years. And really, I hope next year is the year that it happens. And on a personal note, like every other Nowruz, again, this is a lot of family conversation and things like that, but for health and happiness, for friends, loved ones, everyone.
All right. Anahita?
Okay. Okay, of course, I'm so optimistic about the good things come soon.
You are?
Yes.
It's funny you guys say, of course I'm optimistic.
Yes.
Some people really are not that
But I am. Because I see
Parissa's coming up next. She's not as optimistic.
Is she the pessimist of the group?
Because when I see how the things that happen in Iran, that is spread in the world, and I see the result now, like in 6 months, of course I feel good news comes, but I cannot say maybe like in next 2 months, maybe it takes like a bit time, it's like 6 months, but it comes. I'm pretty sure, because the people are, the governments are, they are under pressure. So I think this is good that the Iranian community does that.
And that's
so
your
far.
greatest wish?
My wish.
Oh, okay. Something else is your wish.
So I have one personal wish, actually. Instead of like free Iran and go back to home, because I don't know if I can go right now, is at least one time my parents can see my performance live. Yeah. And my father be fine, be well soon. Yeah.
Let's hope for that, for sure.
Thanks.
Parissa, what you're most optimistic about, if anything, and what do you most wish for in the coming year?
Like, I want to be optimistic, but I'm really not. And I think I'm really
Meaning you don't
pessimistic.
think there's going to be change in Iran, for example?
I hope so. I really hope. But like right now, as we said before, we know that the Western government won't do anything to help us, and we're alone in this fight. And this is something that I didn't know. Like last year, if you would ask me, I would say they will do something when they see all these, crimes against.
Or at least they would stop supporting the regime.
At least stop supporting the regime. But nothing has changed in the last 6 months, and we keep going to rallies here, and we are really, I think, speaking out loud about what we want, but nothing has changed.
So
they didn't change, they didn't do anything.
So your greatest wish is to be optimistic by next year.
Yeah, I hope something, I don't know, but I hope we celebrate next Nowruz in Iran, but I don't know how real.
Fair enough. Fair enough. My greatest wish for the coming year is major change to come in a fundamental way that leads to a win that we have not seen in decades. And of course, I'm speaking of Arsenal winning the Premier League. That would be.
I was wondering when we talk about Arsenal on today's.
I really don't. All this talk about Iran and whatever. Yeah. Well, Arsenal could win the Premier League. Do you guys not understand what the priority is for this coming year?
You're going to Champions League, though.
Well, they're for sure going to be in the Champions League next year. Yeah. But for this year.
You're going to lose there this time.
Settle down. Settle down, Mr. Real Madrid. Finally, I mean, I don't know if we sort of answered this already. I did have a final question, which is this, and this is as big as small or as small as you like. What are you most excited about for this new year ahead? You should be most excited about your little one, who is who's going to be walking, I would say, by this time.
She's walking.
She's walking already?
Oh, yeah.
How old is she?
1 year and 3 months.
She's a year old. I thought she was still like 9 months. Or
she's 15 months now.
Amazing. And
she's talking, not sentences but word, and she's running. She's not walking. She's running every day.
Can she be a Rook Roundtable contributor by this time next year?
Maybe. Why not? I'm sure she's gonna speak better English than me. So.
That's a low bar, Roham. Of course she will. Yeah. Does anybody want to speak to what you're most excited about for the new year ahead?
But I can say I'm excited to see what life plans for us, because past years show that you can't plan everything.
That's right.
So but I'm sure that I'm confident to say that this year, it was COVID, it was the horrible situation in Iran, but this is the year that life has to show us something good.
It's going to be an interesting year.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. where we would be this time next year will
Yeah.
be fascinating. Mine's a lot more immediate. What I'm most excited about for the new year ahead. That's the sabzi polo I'm going to get with my mom's house in about 4 hours after the
Tonight.
Saat Tahvil. Yeah. So, any other final thoughts? No, Parissa, you don't want to piss on the party anymore, which you're most welcome to do. We understand the sentiment. Anahita?
So the things that I'm excited about this year now, it's about the big performance that I will have soon. Can I talk about that?
Sure. Yeah.
We will have a performance April 1st in Meridian Arts Center with 25 dancers, Iranian dancers, all women, and like the big group of people who are playing deaf, all women.
Wow.
And this is about dancing my life. It's about woman. It's about revolution. It's about spring, and it's about Iranian.
So the tickets are available now. Yes?
Yes.
Tickets are available?
Yes.
April 1st if you're in the Toronto area or you want to fly into Toronto from wherever you are in the world, the Meridian Hall, is that what it's
Yeah,
called?
Meridian Arts Center,
Meridian
North
Arts
York.
Center. Okay.
Yeah.
Pegah, final thought, what you're most excited about besides my mom's sabzi polo, which I'll bring some for you.
Definitely. I think I agree with Roham, just, what's to come, because if anything, we've all recognized and realized that it's been a year full of ups and downs, and things will change quickly, and the potential for opportunity and change. Yeah.
Thank you. That was a
you.
really interesting experience for me to get to have the team in here instead of outside of these doors. Nowruz utun piruz. Eمیدوارم سال نو خیلی خوب باشه. Usually I say this is full time for Rook for today, and I thank the Rook team, which you guys are all here, so I can thank you in person, as well as others in our Rook orbit who have and our broader team that have been so helpful throughout the year and are so important to us. Thank you to everybody who subscribes. Thank you to all of you guys out there who have actually become Rook members this year. Here's the most exciting thing about we launched our Patreon page, finally, a way that people can actually support us and keep us alive. So if you've made it this far into the podcast, you're clearly one of our listeners and supporters. So please go to rookmedia.com, our website, rookmedia.com. Press the support us button and you can become a Rook member for just a little bit each month, and that really helps support what we are doing. And I'll give you a shout out on the show next week if you become a bronze, silver, or gold member on our Patreon page. Again, support us at rookmedia.com. Thanks again to everybody out there for listening. Happy Nowruz in whatever way you celebrate it, small, big, less enthusiastically or more enthusiastically this year. See you Thursday. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. Mizunbashi.